Yes, we are back. Back in the house. Hey, what's up?
Hi.
I'm happy today. Got a new laptop. Actually, you don't know the story, do you? Because turn the music down. Welcome to Blackopolypse. We've got Quay, we got your boy Astalio, we got Cindy joining us in a minute. Last week, my laptop broke about 30 minutes before last week's podcast. 30 minutes before, and I was like, no, and I had guests coming on and stuff, and I was like, no. So I had to use my phone, and it was just a mess. I didn't have no music, I had nothing. I was like, oh, this is out of style, this is unprofessional. But today we're back, got my light shining, got the microphone in the way, I got you, I'm here, my afro's looking good, I'm ready. I'm digging your headphones though, they're like,
oh yeah, it's my son's actually. There's a gamer headset.
Yeah, they're really good. They're really good. What games does he play?
He plays fighting games, so like Mortal Kombat and Dragon Ball Z. He's a geek. So it's mostly like that. What other game does he play? I can't even think of it.
My brother was into all that stuff like Tekken and Street Fighter, and
he forces me to play them.
Really, you play with him?
Oh yeah.
That's hands-on parenting. That's good. Okay.
Well, once he got Mortal Kombat, I didn't really have a choice. I had to school him.
You had to beat him now. You threw out the gauntlet.
He beats my ass every time, but I went in with the intention on beating him.
You know, these kids today, man, they're killers on games. Really, they spent remember how much time you had when you was young? You had all the time in the world. And these kids now dedicate their whole childhood to getting good at games, particular games, Minecraft, Call of Duty, and all these stupid Battlefield, all these crazy games. So when you play against them online, it's like, hold on, who am I playing against? And you think it's an old guy, but it's like a 12-year-old.
It's a 10-year-old telling you he banged your mom.
Yeah. It's
my phone is ringing.
It's absolutely crazy. So yeah, basically, anyway, getting to today's topic, obviously, last segment in our Black History Month. And we're going to try and, instead of going totally into American history, because that's the one that spoke about the most, we're going to try and find Black history in other parts of the world. And that's what my guest today, when she comes and joins us, she's a Jamaican woman, but she's lived in England, and she knows I came across her by watching YouTube, and she did a really good video about the history of England and stuff, which I didn't really know about. So I was like, I'm gonna write her. So I approached her and asked her, would you like to join the podcast? And she agreed, and so she's our guest today. I'm just gonna find out where she is actually.
Yeah, I know the surface level stuff, about colonization and how Europe kind of destroyed, temporarily inhibited Africa as well as other countries. Oh my gosh, continents. I can't speak today. And them capturing queens and stuff and bringing them over to be in their royal zoos. It's insane.
Yeah, I think it's, hold on 1 second, I'll just find out this woman is.
Queen Nzinga, that was her name.
Queen? Sorry, Queen who?
I believe it's Queen Nzinga. She was one of the queens who was captured and taken to the British royal family, and ended up being kept like a pet. Originally she was sold into slavery, but she had that air of royalty that caught the queen's attention, and they're just like, no, we can't have a queen being treated like this. And so she was not so much like a zoo per se, but she was taken and got to be royal among the slaves. It was a very weird story, but basically she got the queen's attention because she refused to Queen Nzinga was the one who went toe-to-toe with Portugal. I'm trying to remember all of these things, but there's one that went toe-to-toe with Portugal, and they brought her into a room and they didn't give her a place to sit, and so her servants went on all fours and she sat down on her servants what?
Okay.
Awesome. Oh yay, the X-Men.
Yeah. What the X-Men? See, the thing is, especially with British Black history, it's kind of weird. But I do know that I remember reading a story once. There was a African king who was caught as a slave. They took him as a slave, And the slave owners refused to sell him because they said if you watch the way he walks and the way he presents himself, you can tell that he's not a normal person. I don't know what happened to him, but I do know of that story from back in the day. So
let me Google that because I think that was.
Hello, Cindy. I think that's. Can you hear me?
No, sorry. This is Cindy's son. I'm just watching the podcast.
Okay. Oh, wait there. When is Cindy? Oh, she's joining us now. Okay, good. Yeah. You can you know what I'll do. You can mute yourself. Do you want to participate or do you not want to say anything? It's up to you.
I don't mind participating, but I'm gonna watch for first of all.
All right, cool. Then
thank you for the invitation. Yeah, man. I'm just here to observe, you know. Right,
so I'll mute your mic then, and then yeah, okay. Cool.
Am I in? I'm not sure if I'm in because I haven't entered the passcode yet.
Yeah, you're in. You're in.
Loving that accent already.
Yeah, Jamaican. That's it. You know, this is close to my heart. You know, I'm actually a Jamaican too.
Okay, I thought I was going to see everybody on screen, but
you can't see us.
I only can see you at the moment.
Hold on one sec. I think are you on your phone? You're on your phone. I think that's the problem.
Okay.
I think when Quay speaks, you'll see her picture.
Oh yeah, I've just seen her. My Sunday morning is joining. I've just sent him the link as well.
Yeah. Oh, it's okay. I'll pull him in, but I've muted him so he doesn't. Unless he wants to participate, then he can unmute himself and say something. So, Cindy, I approached you on YouTube because I was watching your videos and I thought, wow, this woman's amazing and she's got a wealth of knowledge about especially Black history, but like not the American Black history, but like the Jamaican and the British Black history. So I said to myself, I got to get her on because like my British Black history is not that deep like yours because I'm not like my mom. It's a complicated story, but you know, she was like a lot of Black women who kind of came across. No, she didn't even come from Jamaica. She was born in England from a Jamaican father, but you know, the classic Jamaican father went back to Jamaica and left the kids in England, and so she never really had any like proper historical knowledge of the whole Jamaican thing. But listening to your videos, I found that you know a lot more. So I was like, I gotta get you on, and you can give us some of the stuff that you know. And
okay.
Bless them. Yep.
Well, basically, Black history for me, like I said, it's not so much concerning Black people. It's a Black period in history.
Mm-hmm.
It's my son keeps sending me messages. Click on your name and then click on. Oh my! I'm not sure what he's. He's very computer literate. I'm not.
Okay, no problem.
Can you actually see me then?
Yeah, we can see you now. Yeah.
All right. So basically, it's. You see, I've gone way back. In order to understand Black history, you have to go way back from the beginning to see where it's coming from. And as a professing Christian, I realized that slavery didn't begin just like in the modern era. Slavery,
you know, time you're out in it.
Tap to speak. Oh, bloody hell.
Yeah, carry on.
Cindy, you've muted yourself.
Oh, she's gone. Hold on.
Like Cindy?
I'll send that again. I was just getting into it as well. I was like, oh, great. Finally, I'm going to find out a little bit about myself. Hold on. Cindy, we cannot hear you now. Can you please unmute yourself? Okay. You know, we had one guy on a couple of weeks back before she joins again. And he tried to get on, but he had no idea. He was like really just completely like in deep water with the whole technology stuff. And in the end, he actually left and we never got him on because he just couldn't figure it out. He was like, I can see you, but now I can't see you. I can hear you, but now I can't hear you. Kept calling me up. I was like, dude, just press this button. I was like, press this button on the left. Just press the button. That's it. But he couldn't figure it out.
I had for weeks I was having to like try to figure out my phone and the laptop and computer.
Okay,
oh, here she comes.
No, I haven't done. Quay speaking.
You're back. You're back now, Cindy.
All right. So basically, yeah, that's better.
Okay, looking good. Looking good. Fabulous.
Yeah. Only the morning now we need to get. And basically, as I was saying, when it comes to Black history, I go way back because I realized that Black history started like in biblical times when the children of Israel was being oppressed by, King Pharaoh, and he was very cruel to them, and then they got deliverance and that sort of thing. And I watched like Root series, and I've seen white people being oppressed, and I've seen Black people being oppressed, and I compare like the Holocaust, and I've seen how the Jews were murdered. And then when I compare it, for me, that's Black history because it's a bleak period in history. It's a bleak period in history where people have undergone oppression and really bad treatment. You understand?
Yeah.
And then again, I've always heard about the Black country and didn't quite understand what it was. And it was basically why it got that name Black countries because of the sort of industrialized settings in the Black in that region where you got people used to inhale lots of smoke.
Yeah.
And even white people suffered through it, and a lot of people developed cancer.
Yeah.
And it's just really, really, really oppressive when you look into the deep history of what it is.
Yeah.
And there are a few characters that comes to mind when I talk about Black history, because people tend to look at like Martin Luther King and Malcolm X as the sort of faces of Black history, but then you've got the unsung heroes who's never been mentioned. People who make such a vast difference and change to make our lives much more, allow us to have a better quality of life.
Yeah.
You understand? And Jamaicans tend to think that we are originated from Africa, which is a fact. But when I've gone back to Jamaican history and I've seen that the early Jamaicans were Arawak Indians.
Yeah, that's my tribe.
Sorry?
That's my tribe too. That's where I'm from. I'm not Arawak Indian.
You see what I'm saying? And then there's a group of people that they've eliminated and said those people were killed out by diseases and stuff like that. And I've gone into history and I've realized that those people are in existence.
Like the
somewhere.
Tiano people?
Yeah, the Taino. They're actually in existence. They're not completely wiped out. You understand? So people only bring on top what they feel that they want to sort of publicize. And then it's for us now. It's like in the Bible, it's the half has never been told. When I read the Bible, they've got 66 books in the Bible, but they never tell you about the Maccabees. They never tell you about the sort of there was another tribe, and the Maccabees were the main one who went into war to sort of fight for justice for the people. And you never hear any mention of those. You understand? They just pick out a few bits and pieces and tell you what they want you to know. But you ever heard of the half have never been told? You understand? And at the moment, I'm indulging into Rastafarianism, which I'm gonna feature next on my YouTube, because basically the first Rastafarian was Leonard, what's his name? Leonard something.
I'll look it up for you.
I just know Haile Selassie, not Haile Selassie. Is he Haile Selassie?
No, well, Haile Selassie basically was he was
Leonard
the
Howell.
125th descendant of King Solomon.
Leonard
And
Howell. That's who you're talking about.
That
Leonard
is
Howell.
that is a stated fact. You understand? But Leonard Percival, what's his last name? I forget. It's all
Howell.
coming back.
Ignore me,
Hello,
carry on.
Nigel.
I didn't realize.
His last name is Howell.
Sorry, I'm late. I had to wait for my dog to come in.
It's better to be late than never.
Yes.
Bless
Yeah.
you. Bless you.
Yeah. And when I look at it and I've compared it, because even I myself, you know, when you got off to a good start in life, your parents give you a good upbringing.
Yeah.
You educate yourself to a high standard, because I came to England in 92 and I studied. I did my Bachelor of Arts in Humanities, Languages and Sciences. I did my LLB honors in law. And at the moment, I'm trying to pursue a master's. And somebody would say, wow, she's intellectual and she's this or she's that. But you as a person know that within yourself, you could have done more to elevate yourself. You understand what I'm saying? And we are from that background where it's all about education, education, education. You understand? There's nothing worse than a numbskull, because they said knowledge. Knowledge is power. You understand? So I'm always hungry for more education, to know what is that, because I don't think people might think, oh, she's quite intelligent and she's this, but I'm always thirsty for knowledge. You understand? Because I knew that when it comes to our history, there's a lot of missing bits and pieces. And if you don't actually live it yourself, like for instance, we're going through this corona thing and people are confused. Much people don't understand. You hear about different strains from Africa, strains from that. And it's so much propaganda. You can't actually, you're trying to grab on to any little bits of the truth that you can come up with. Because all the theories that they present to you, people say, oh, it's propaganda. It's not true. And the people are actually sharing their experiences. You understand me? So back to the topic where we initially started with, when I'm talking about Black history, I'm talking about a bleak period in history where people have undergone oppression. Many have died through it. Some survived, some overcame. Some are still suffering as a result, because them say, we're gone by the morning, can't come good the evening. You understand? So it's basically, you have to sort of tell yourself that I'm alive, and if I can make a difference, if I can make a change, then it will be all good. So when I present my broadcast, I want somebody to hear what I'm saying, and if you can identify with what I'm saying and perhaps share your experiences, we can learn from each other. And that's what it's all about. You understand? I think I'm babbling on a bit now. So
no, it's fine. What I want to know is, so basically what you're saying is, like, the history that we presented has made it basically look like Black people have been just been tortured and enslaved, and that all the bad stuff happened to them. But even though this is happening to other people as well, they didn't really put, like, project that one, make that one look big, like make it look like British people were slaves too, or Irish people. Like, for example, Irish people were slaves. And actually, maybe you can
wait. Are you talking about in the Americas or in Europe? Because Irish people here were not slaves; they were indentured servants.
Sorry to interrupt. Quay, you look a bit like Oprah Winfrey from a distance.
That's my Oprah Winfrey, yeah.
Yeah, but you know.
Wait. So I've been hearing that from white people since I was little, and I always resented it and I hated it. But now I'm hearing it from Black people, and it kind of hurts my feelings. Like,
Oprah's a good girl. Oprah's a good girl.
No, I'm not saying that. I just always figured that people were saying that because, like, oh, random Black person, you look like random Black person. But now a bunch of Black people are saying it too. I guess it's true.
My mom looks like a Whoopi Goldberg, though. So
she has got her smile. She has got her smile. Actually,
do you prefer to be called Blackopolypse?
Yeah, Blackopolypse. Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, you touch on a topic about Irish, and you remember back in the day they used to say no Black, no Irish, no dog. So Irish people have gone through severe oppression, worse than Black people. When I sit and listen to Irish people and what they've gone through.
I don't know.
Who can we say?
I think the thing is with that is that they've still always been able to default to the fact that matches the people that we are talking to. So we could never escape this. Whereas they could put on a posh English accent and say, oh, hello, I'm from Surrey. Not, oh, me, I'm from Ireland. You know what I mean? So yes, they would have had some, and I'm not disputing that. But in terms of the same as us,
I'll say it like for stateside.
Comparison. I wouldn't say there's any real comparison because wickedness is wickedness as far as I'm concerned. And if somebody's treated bad, it's just that they most times when because I've been in groups with like Irish, Scousers that come from Liverpool, and you've got people from Wales, and I don't understand why the Irish is usually the like the underdog.
Well, it's because and this is just kind of like a history of conquest. The Irish never quit fighting. So the way I like to explain it is, it started with Rome. Rome came, oppressed the Picts, and then the Picts, they almost wiped them out, honestly. And then the Brits pressed the Welsh, the Irish, and the Scottish. The Scottish and the Irish continued to fight for their freedom and their independence, and were never completely conquered from the Brits. And so their response from the Brits to that is, we're gonna make you submit eventually. So they starved them, they mass murdered them, they did everything they could to try to make them submit and become a part of the UK. And it's like very weird thing. And they did treat Irish like dogs. And they took that and brought it over here to stateside and used that to oppress people around the world. Like, they practiced their oppression on the Irish and perfected it, and then sent it out globally. It's how I like to describe it. And the Irish, they just never gave up. Whereas the Picts, like, you don't really see anyone say, hey, I'm Pict, I'm a ghoul. You don't see that anymore, but you do very firmly have, I'm Irish, I'm Scottish. And that's just because, like, this fire in them. And the British have been hell-bent on getting that out of them since pre-colonial times.
I heard the same thing about Jamaica, though. But Jamaica was an island where they sent all the badass black people who weren't who weren't listening to no orders.
Yeah, your punishment.
Go on, Davey. You're not going to listen to that.
If you were a black person who couldn't be submitted, they sent you to the islands as punishment to work in the, was it tobacco fields? I think. No, sugarcane. Sugar.
Cindy,
like the worst.
I'm gonna touch on Jamaica in terms of badass in a little while, but on the topic of the Irish, I personally feel that it's mostly political, because there's is it Guinness, that man who, I think there was because I was shocked when Meghan named her baby Archie, because one of the Queen relative actually was, so I forget all the history go now. Like, there was a killing, the Queen, is it Archibald something?
I know.
That, can anybody
I'll Google it for you.
Because it's a sort of political thing where the Queen, Mountbatten, the Queen relative called Mountbatten, had actually got somebody in Ireland killed, and the Queen actually welcomed that person back into the palace. And I'm thinking, what? You don't know anything about that?
Archibald Douglas, Scottish.
Lord, his name was Lord Mountbatten.
I don't know about that. I don't know, but I'm sure a historian would know that.
So why I'm saying that is just basically because of the way the Irish were treated, and I'm thinking that maybe because it's a political thing, because they've got affiliation with the palace and stuff like that. But it's a known fact that Lord Mountbatten, either he was killed or he got somebody killed from Ireland, and the Queen still joined forces, because the Buckingham Palace was bombed and the Queen almost got killed, but she survived 2 bombs. You understand? It's just all political.
You're talking about British Queen? I mean, not British Queen. Current Queen Elizabeth II.
Yeah, it's the British Queen. Yes,
that's the British Queen. Yeah, or the
German Queen. She is the British Queen. She's not just the Queen. There's a bunch of queens.
Yeah, but that's just one slice of history that got me baffled, that I kept thinking about, and I'm thinking, what? So if Lord Mountbatten Windsor got assassinated by somebody in Ireland, why on earth would the Queen welcome that person back into the palace?
Well, there was, I mean, I've just read it online, and there was a rumor regarding his sexuality. Now, obviously, it's only what, 30, 40 years ago, well, 30 years ago, that you would have had, there was laws banning certain practices, and he, the rumor was that he had these tendencies for different sexual practices. And the thing is, back in that day, any kind of like dark rumor, I mean, look at the king who he had to abdicate because of this woman, the
American woman.
Exactly. So you think, well, and this is it's all protocol, isn't it? That's why I mean, I hate the flack that Meghan gets, because I think the papers kind of think, oh, let's focus on just chatting bad. They never kind of say, oh, she's doing these positive things. They always focus on the
They're
bad.
giving her the Diana treatment.
Yeah, and you think yourself, well, why is it so important? Because I don't really care about what they're doing in there. Like, I couldn't give two hoots, but certain media, they're vexed because she won't kowtow. She won't play the game with them.
It's because she's black. She could play all she wanted to.
The thing is, you've got to look at it and think, well, why is she being treated? She just wants to have her own life, but
Diana was treated that way because she was a commoner, and then they're like, okay, we can accept a commoner now. Oh my gosh, I can't believe what we did to Diana. So when William married Kate, it's like, yay, commoner, every little girl's fantasy dream come true. And then now Harry throws in a curveball of his own. Okay, not only a commoner, but a black chick, and they just can't handle.
They can't seem to handle it, because I mean,
if you look at how they depict Kate versus I'm so sorry, I can't think right now. If you look at how they depict the two, they can do the exact same thing and wear the exact same dresses, and it will be presented completely different. So I believe one was like about avocado. Kate ate avocado for morning sickness. All right. And it's like, oh, wonderful, wonder drug. Kate eats avocado to help with her morning sickness. And then Meghan eats avocado for morning sickness. And it's precious Meghan can't have anything except for a fancy avocado. Like it's absolutely anti-blackness. It has nothing to do with her being a commoner or anything. It's anti-black. It's a bunch of 30-year-old women and angry 30-year-old men and 40-year-old men who are mad because they couldn't get in Harry's pants. I mean, and the like black chick did it.
Okay. Anyway, it's not really important. Anyway, let's go back to the history stuff.
I quite agree with what Nigel said about the protocol, because the reason why I couldn't understand why Meghan would opt out of the palace is basically because of the way, like I'm a Jamaican, I'm accustomed to living a certain way of life. I'm accustomed to eating certain food, and if things are not in line with what my beliefs are, then I'm going to opt out. And that's
values, man. You've got your own values, what you live and die by. And it's just, the thing is, everyone can see it. And either some people are, well, that's who she is. And some people are, well, why are you picking on her? But my point is, why is she in the news? If you hate her so much, why are you even talking about it in the papers?
They made
this huge thing about her dad, and how her and her dad fell out. That's their business. It ain't our business. But they want to make it our business and make it a bad thing now. We don't know what relationship those guys had when she was younger. We don't know what trauma she's gone through, what she's held down. How dare the media, try and open up this festive ruined just because she hasn't invited him to a wedding. It's like everything's just like boom.
It's whatever they can do to discredit her, and it's because she's an African American, and it's because she's an American, and because she's a Black American. I don't think they would have minded if he married Britney Spears. Well, but they should have known it all along, because he had like posters of Rihanna on his walls when he was little.
If he's happy, and this is where protocol gets in the way. It's not about happiness; it's about protocol. It's about the right thing. It's about what the establishment expects. But if they focus on, well, the guy's happy, fine. But no, it's got to.
I think they're happier now, though, because I was reading something yesterday. They said William was having a go at Harry for the fact that the Queen said the Queen has stripped him of his titles and whatever, and he's still carrying on. He's just carrying on. I think that's what they can't stand to know, that they're still happy and they're still getting deals all over the world.
They can't affect them. That's what it is. It's that power.
Well, they weren't stripped. I follow this because I'm following Meghan, because once upon a time, I was a 12-year-old girl who was in love with Harry, and I knew he was going to be the one to get to the
You
black
like
ship.
Harry, man. I thought you were
Oh
like
my
William.
gosh. I got a letter from Princess Diana when I was little, and thought I was destined to marry one of her kids.
What? Say that again. You got a letter from Princess Diana when you?
I wrote her, and I got a form letter back, but I was too young to really know that it was a form letter. So she's like, Princess Diana knows what.
That amazes me, and I'll tell you for why.
I feel
Obviously,
blessed to be in the company of celebrities.
You're in America, and you have held the royal family. Obviously, you're young in high regard. I would never have dreamed of writing to
Me
royal
neither.
family.
Yeah, but I got a big.
She was wait, it was more than just that she's royal. It was about the AIDS advocacy, the helping the leper children. She became my hero because of not because she was a princess, but because
she just
she was the queen of people's hearts. And at the time, way back in the day, I just watched Pedro Zamora, who was on MTV's Real World, die of AIDS on TV, and the fact that she was willing to I don't think they showed his death of AIDS, but they showed his struggle with AIDS, and then eventually revealed he died and showed pictures of that. But she was one of those people who were the early advocates for AIDS. And so I wrote her, got a form letter back, and I was just in love with Harry. But after her death, but the point of that part is the reason why they're after them, the reason why I know so much is because I follow them because of Meghan and because of Harry. But Harry quit. Basically, he quit the royal family in an effort to protect his mom because of what was happening to her. It was very eerily similar to what was going on with Diana long time ago. So they left to protect her. They even left the country to protect her from this like vicious paparazzi who was not going to let up. And we see framing Britney Spears, the psychological damage that does. And so they left, and in leaving, they renounced their titles. And like there was a negotiation on what duties they would and wouldn't do. And they were just like, we're not going to do any. So he's still Prince, but they're not dukes. I think they're still dukes of something. I don't know the ins and outs, but
the thing is,
it wasn't an ousting thing.
He's Lady Diana's son. He'll always have a place in the world.
Yes,
and she's his wife, so she'll always have a place in the world.
There are doubts about him being Prince Charles, so I don't know. That's
I don't want to go into this.
That's another story for another day.
Yeah, this is a part 2. This is part 4 of the podcast.
Let's talk about Black history.
I want to go
back
Black
people.
history.
Let's talk about Queen Nzinga. Let's talk about let's talk about why you can go to Europe and I can't. Can we talk about that? Why do Jamaicans and Islanders just get to go up and say, I'm British now, but as an American, I can't leave?
Okay. Cindy, carry on where you left off, if you remember. Cindy.
Yeah, it's just basically I'm saying that the Irish and other nationalities and other people from other minority backgrounds were treated in a similar way. Their oppression and their struggles were somewhat different because obviously they were beaten to death, some were burnt alive at the stake and stuff like that. And our cruelty was more to do with greed, where the British was more interested in obviously, you know, Jamaica have got bauxite and we've got our sugar cane where we get vast amounts of sugar. So the sugar industry was vast, and then they were exporting sugar all over the globe. And this is why I've gone into Rastafarianism, because the first Rasta, Leonard Percival, I don't know why I can't remember his last name, but Leonard Percival was basically, he went in to fight the first World War I, and they beat him. He was beaten and lynched, left for dead, locked up by the government. They were just threatened. They felt threatened by his very existence. They went to his home where he bought this 5 acres of land called Pinnacle, and they burned it down. They burned it down and claimed that he was smuggling ganja, but he was, at the time, he had a ganja plantation where he used to supply even the government. The government was benefiting from it, you understand? So when they went and beat him, broke his ribs. They were trying to cut out his tongue and all that sort. Oh, there he is.
Leonard
Leonard
Howell.
Percival. What was his first name?
Leonard Howell, wasn't it?
Leonard Percival Howard.
Yes, that man was apparently because Marcus Garvey made a prophecy many years ago that a black king would come from Ethiopia, and they have it is because Haile Selassie was a 225th descendant, and he actually was a prince, and he actually was crowned king and whatever. So this man, because of the fact that he was saying, "Oh, Rasta," because back in that time when Orwell was forming his first Rastafarian group and all of that, basically what happened was he was sort of promoting Haile Selassie that King George V of England is not in reign because his son came and bowed down before Haile Selassie. So all hail be to the King of Kings and Lords of Lords, conquering line, and the tribe of Judah. And because of that, I think the government, it was a propaganda, it was a trump-up charge, because when he was younger, he witnessed a murder of this man who killed his wife, and his dad hurried up and shipped him away to America on a banana boat, so to speak. And basically, he was being targeted by the government. It's like I've noticed it's a trend. In Jesus' time, Jesus was seen as a threat to the system because he came with radical views. Because back in that time, if a woman was caught in adultery, they stone her to death. And Jesus come and said, no, anybody without sin cast the first stone. You understand? So the government of Jesus, they felt threatened by him. And if you look at this, if you read the story of Jesus throughout the history of the Bible, he went through an oppressive regime until they beat him to death. You understand me? Yeah, as Christians, we believe he rose and everything like that. But when you look at the pattern, I'm looking at the pattern. Percival Howell went through, he went through a bad time because they burned his house down. They took away his land papers. He couldn't. Right now, recently, I think his children were trying to get back possession of the land because the government burned down the estate, chased the people off the land called Pinnacle, and he just went through hell. And then in the last days of his life, he went to live in a hotel in Kingston, and it's just the way he was oppressed. I think it's just unbelievable to know that all he was doing was trying to form the Rastafarian religion, and just trying to help people, trying to change people's lives, because he wasn't doing anything bad. He was just helping people to grow their own food.
I think one of the things I've just done a quick speed read. He was trying to empower black people.
That's what.
Yeah.
When you do that, you're in trouble.
And he was pouring scorn on the church. He actually poured scorn on the church and says that black people shouldn't be practicing no Christianity because it wasn't our religion, which is
but Percival Howell came from an Anglican background.
Yeah, but he rejected that. But he did reject that because of the very fact. I mean, I've just read here that
that black people were only Christians because of slavery.
Yeah.
This is something that I was taught ever since I was little.
Yeah.
And that was one of the
right thing. He was trying to empower black people, just like Marcus Garvey, because he joined forces with Marcus Garvey, because Marcus Garvey formed the Universal Negro Association in America, and Howell actually teamed up with him. But Marcus Garvey was in prison too.
Yeah.
And he died in obscurity. Haile Selassie went through a bad patch too. It was the Italian War, and he had to come to England at some part, a place called Bath, where he suffered, and they end up killing him because he was in prison himself. So all these men who are trying to, Marcus Garvey built the Black Star Liner to empower black people. And look at what he went through. Even though nobody don't know what killed him, history tells us that he died in obscurity. Percival Howell, people said because of the beating he received and they were trying to cut his tongue out, that was what killed him. You understand me? Haile Selassie, they didn't find his body until he died 1975 and his funeral wasn't acknowledged. Nobody has ever seen his body. Nobody. You understand me? Nobody has ever seen that body. The Rastafarians, most of them said he's not dead, he's still alive, but his body was found under the bottom, like in the attic of this place when somebody was apparently searching for the Ark of the Covenant. You understand? So Black history is bleak, man. It's just a bleak time where you can say once somebody rise up, and even in modern day time, Obama, who was our president, a lot of people can't stand him for the very fact that he didn't support Black people as he should. He didn't defend our cause. You understand?
Obama's hands were completely tied.
Beginning
like 2 years after he started office. The American political system is just absolutely just stupid. 2 years into his first term of office, we switched to have a completely different party. And I guess you could compare it to like the House of Commons and House of Lords. Our party switched. And so we had a president of one party and a Congress House of another party, and nothing happened. He didn't ignore the Black causes. He actually, he tried very hard to pass universal health care, which was an issue that faces African Americans widely. We have the highest mortality rates of anybody due to preventable diseases here in the United States because we don't go to the doctor because we can't afford to. So we are dying of like stuff like heart disease and diabetes where we could have had continued care. And he tried to do prison reform, but they wouldn't even touch that. He also improved the funding to schools across, it used to be, well, it still is, but it's not as bad. The way that No Child Left Behind worked out is that all Black kids got left behind unless they were rich Black kids. So any inner city schools.
I mean, Quay, this is my point that I'm trying to put across. Joe Biden was his right-hand man at the time, and apparently they said more Black people got deported and got treated badly under his administration than any other government in American history.
We did have an increase of immigration, and that's because and I don't really think any other country, I'm not very pro deportation, but I don't think any other country can understand the level of immigrants that we have had come into the US, to where the dynamics of the United States went from having maybe 5% Latinos to having them be 15% of the population, mass immigration.
You know what that is though? You know what that is? Because America paints this picture, it paints itself as this glorious place where the dream is true. If you just work a little bit harder, a bit smarter, you'll get everything you want. And of course, everyone looks and thinks, oh, I can make it in America. You know what I mean?
It's because we created an environment where we sent a bunch of gang members down there and we created these gang war zones in South America where they're fleeing for their life here. And on top of that, there's an issue of my Latino friends used to come here, work a little bit, go home, come here, work a little bit, go home. Under George W., they kind of strengthened the border, I guess you could say, to where if someone went home, they would risk not being able to come back to work. So they ended up staying here. So migrant workers became immigrants. And that's how the population began to explode. And so under Obama, they were trying to get the immigrants out. I'm not saying I agree with that, but there was a reason for it. It wasn't.
I think they're pathetic. I think they're pathetic because
how many immigrants are in Jamaica right now? How many Mexican immigrants are you guys taking in Jamaica? How many immigrants is Europe taking?
Cities in England, so we take a lot at the moment because of
from Mexico right now.
I love Mexico, but we have the immigrants from Syria? There was the war in Syria recently.
Have they completely changed the dynamics of your country to where they were the minority and now they are the majority? That many immigrants?
I think I don't know. Like in Germany. In Germany, we had a million. In Germany, we had a million refugees come in.
We had 700,000. We had 70,000 in just one caravan. Now, I'm not saying I agree with it.
That's a big
I'm
caravan.
not. No, it was actually a caravan marching here to the United States.
Really?
I'm not saying I agree with it. I do not agree with our immigration policies. I don't agree with the way that we handle South America. The Marshall Plan can suck a dick, to be very honest. The way that we handle South America and all we've done there, I don't agree with it. However, the immigration reform, there was a reason for it. People actually were losing their jobs. My very first job that I was going up for coming out of college, I lost to my best friend who was she was technically an illegal immigrant who helped
another time as well, because this is a
topic for another
topic, because we
just
have
don't poop on the United States. The United States got problems. Just don't poop on it, because I'm gonna have to defend my country. I'm a patriot.
All right, great. Cindy, carry on.
We have got a similar situation in Britain, and that's why I said this is a very extensive topic, because when they were bringing in people from Syria and all the European countries, and as soon as they landed, they landed on benefits, and that was what damaged the economy and led them to. I think I need some water. Give me a second.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think another thing with just to fill in there, I think another thing with the American thing, America along with Europe has had a hand in destroying a lot of countries, especially brown countries. So these people in the brown countries now are like, oh, well, then we're gonna go to Europe, we're gonna go to Germany, we're gonna go to England, we're gonna go to Spain, we're gonna go to France, because that's where it's peaceful. And that's where everyone, when I was in Africa, man, people were like to, they were clawing at me like, how do I get to Europe? Can you help me get to Europe? And I was like, you got paradise right here. Why do you want to come to Europe for? Yeah, because you guys got everything. It's peaceful. It's nice. I was like, yeah, I don't know, man. I was like, I don't think it's that easy.
I think the peaceful thing is a real key thing there, because if you've got a family, the one thing that you want to be able to do is to protect them. And if you're in an environment where you're not sure what the next week's going to bring, you are going to want to take that family and go elsewhere. The problem that a lot of these countries face where they're suffering a migration problem, is because they're being run by dictators and people who are just in it for money. Some of them have been put in power by the Western world. Yeah. Some of them have got power and they just decide that they don't want to relinquish power. So you had a situation, I think it was in Nigeria, where that young African guy, he was going for presidency because he was doing well. They arrested him. Now, this is a black country with black people voting for black people, and they're still treating black people like slaves. Like
Nigeria has one of the biggest Black Lives Matter movement, and it's a country full of black people.
But the politics, but what I'm saying, this young guy who was talking about changing the way the country was, recognizing more young people, whatever, because these old dictators don't want to relinquish power, they get the army in, they'll shoot people just to hang on to that little bit of power. Instead of thinking, well, these are my people, it's, oh no, I got to hang on to this money. And that's Africa, where we would like to think, yeah, that's a utopia, as a black person. The reality is, man, power corrupts, doesn't it? And absolute power corrupts even more.
My friend's Argentinian best friend, his mom said the best thing to me. Someone told her she needs to go back to her country. She said, I'd love to go back to my country when your country stops making it unlivable.
Yeah, that's the issue we have.
Why, when it comes to black history, I'm telling you that with Haile Selassie, he was trying to take away the power from the white majority and give it to the black minority, and that's why they actually joined forces to get rid of him.
Well, do you know that Colonel Gaddafi was trying to bring in an African coin to rival the dollar? And he actually got some traction with it, where all the African nations were going to have a single currency, which would have been a threat to other currencies.
Muammar Gaddafi wasn't overthrown because he was a dictator. He was overthrown because he was trying to unite Africa and have the world stop exploiting them for their resources. Exactly,
but then they had him killed. So, I'm
not saying he wasn't a dictator.
Well,
I want to make sure I wasn't quoted wrong.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is,
the reason he was killed was not because of that.
I suppose the thing is, though, we say dictator. I mean, we think our democracies are the right way to live. We're living in a dictatorship. Democracy is just a nice word for saying we're going to tell you what to do, tell you what you can have when you get paid, tell you when you can go out because of COVID, and we'll tell you when you're allowed back out because of, So the reality is there's no such thing as democracy. It's just whoever's in power, whether they're prepared to give you a little bit of crumbs or a lot of crumbs. That's it.
Well, this is my point. No country can run without the people say, because the
That's
government can't stay in its office and know exactly what is happening. True, it's got to be people power that make
Except for the U.S.
successful.
The U.S. has shown that they will kill us. This to be very clear.
They'll kill you guys, yeah, for sure.
They will. The U.S. has 100% through our history has shown they'll play along like, yes, you have a say. But when you try to go against the government, they will kill you. The massacre of the Native Americans at oh gosh, I can't remember the name. Not Standing Rock. I can't remember the name of this one. But what they did is they went in. They said, "Hey guys, give us your guns. You're not allowed to have the guns anymore. Okay, here's our guns." And then they opened fire. There's a black community in Philadelphia that was collecting guns, that were hoarding guns. They're going to defend themselves, like Huey Newton. I was like, defend yourselves. They dropped a bomb on them. The Waco bombing, the Waco, Texas standoff was a hippie commune, and they were hoarding guns and they were trying to have their own little independence thing. And the government went and set them all on fire. Our government runs without our agreement because they will kill us if we don't. I just want to make that very clear.
We have seen the depose Donald Trump and see what happened to government that don't do and cooperate and give everybody equal opportunities, because you can't just pick and choose who you decide to elevate. You understand? It's got to be, everybody's got to get a share of the pie. You understand?
In a perfect world, yes.
Well, this is it, because even with Joe Biden, look at his history of corruption with his son, and see,
No. Let's not bring in Hunter Biden, because there's not a history of corruption there. There is legitimate problems with Joe Biden, like his lying about his actions in the civil rights movement, or his lying about going to go see Nelson Mandela in South Africa in prison and him being arrested. He lies about stuff like that, but Hunter Biden is not.
But wasn't Biden part of the 90s crime bill, which saw more African-American men incarcerated?
Joe Biden wrote the crime bill, the initial draft.
Yeah.
He did.
Yes.
And this is what I'm saying.
However, the way that the government works here in the United States is you can write a bill and it goes into the first house and then they can change it. And then it goes somewhere else and they change it. And then it goes to another committee and they change it. And by the time the bill was done, he did not agree with most of it. And then from there, the states went and made it even worse. So there's a lot, like some of these issues are just so complex because of the way the US government works. It's really hard to just say Joe Biden wrote the crime bill. He did, but he did it in response to African-American communities, basically begging them and begging for help to deal with the rising gang problem in the United States. We had a horrible gang problem. I used to watch in first grade commercials in school about where we could go and where we couldn't go.
The gang problem was what came out of the poverty that the majority of people were living.
The black community, the older black African Americans were begging for help because the police would not come.
Black people react.
How do black people react here?
I'm saying that it's a typical way of black, not just black or white people to react when things are not going their way. They just take matters into their hand and they just react and lash out, and some of them respond by violence. Look at the way those white people attacked Washington recently. It's just a natural human reaction.
And what ended up happening is older black people were begging for help because there was a time where you would call the police. There's a song called 911 is a joke. You would call the police and be like, someone's breaking into my house, someone's coming to hurt me. And you would not get a response from 911. The crime bill was supposedly an effort to try to help the African-American community combat the gang problems and combat the release and re-release of these criminals who were just terrorizing us. The problem is that by the time the bill went through the committee and was voted in, it was completely different. And in addition to that, the states bastardized it. And then we got private for-profit prisons and all hell broke loose. So can't blame Joe Biden for that.
You know what? I'm still trying to figure out.
I'm just talking as I see. I speak as I find. You understand? And I've seen how Joe discriminate against black people and children in schools, and even went as far as say he wouldn't let his children mix with jungle, whatever. He
He said that he didn't want the schools to become a racial jungle. He said that while trying to, this is another thing you have to understand about the United States. The United States is shit. I want you guys to understand that the US is shit. The job of our politicians is to get elected. And they will say and do anything they have to get elected. So at that time, he was campaigning with Dixiecrats to try to win an election. And Dixiecrats were part of the Democratic Party that was from the Southeast that were super racist. And so you went and you said what you have to say. Do I believe that he is some kind of kumbaya, lovey-dovey?
Well, isn't that? I mean, I find that absolutely amazing, because if you look at the culture, this cancel culture that we've got right now, that no one said a sniff about that.
Oh yes, we were. We were very much everything.
Well, that's the first time I've heard about this.
Everything Joe Biden did was brought up right down to lying about going to jail for Nelson Mandela.
How come the cancel culture haven't gone for him?
Because the other people were worse.
Man, you know something. You can say, okay, Joe Biden did something in 1960. That's great. Joe Biden sucked in 1970. That's great. When you have people who are running for office who literally said, like Bloomberg, we didn't arrest enough of the Black people with his stop and frisk crap, where he targeted Black people like 5 years ago. When you have Pete Buttigieg, who when he became mayor of Indiana, mayor of South Bend, Indiana, the number of Black people who were incarcerated for minor drug crime skyrocketed. It's like you have to choose between douchebag and a turd.
Bad and badder. You know,
but you know, the thing that grieves me the most about what you're saying there is because if you think of a number of African Americans in America.
Let's get off of the US, because the US is shit. We can end up
I just think, you know, and it's a shame, it will never happen, but they only need to unify to get behind one thing, and it's a huge amount of power. And that unification could take place where they say, right, we're not going to spend money with this corporation or that corporation, or we ain't going to go, you know what I mean? The amount of that, all that money, you're talking trillions of dollars held out of the economy. Honestly, that would focus minds, but no one's interested in that. No one, the latest trainers by Jeezy and Yeezy and...
There've been movements, there have been people trying, it's like, hey, we're going to boycott this, we're going to boycott this business. The problem with that comes with a misunderstanding of the level of Black spending power. To be very honest, we have money, but we don't have as much as the white people. So if white people are still going to Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, it's even a 30% reduction of your money going into an economy is going to have an effect.
Yeah, but we still have to pay bills. We still have to feed our kids.
Oh yeah, but I'm just saying.
And the problem is that the companies doing this shit are the companies that are providing essential goods.
Oh, so for example, you know, Versace quite clearly was racist. Didn't want to see niggers in his clothes. Who ran out?
That was Tommy Hilfiger, wasn't it?
That was Tommy Hilfiger.
Was it one of the Italian guys anyway? But what I'm saying is, we still went out. As
my mom had a shirt that said "Tommy hates a nigga," and Black people stopped buying Tommy Hilfiger, and that's when you stopped seeing him. Like because we were the only ones buying his stuff.
Yeah.
But that was a particular case where it was like it was marketed to Black people. We were the main buyers of it. So right now, if Black people said we don't want to buy Jordan somewhere, Jordan would probably go out of business. But if suddenly Chick-fil-A says screw the niggers, then guess what? Chick-fil-A is going to stay in business, because Chick-fil-A, that's something that is geared not just to Black people, but also white people.
Okay, let's just quickly, because no Cinder's in this guy.
I'm going to work.
Yeah,
sorry.
So we'll definitely have to do a part 2 with this, because I don't work. Fridays is a good time. I don't have any time limit, but during the week up until Thursday, I have to leave out to go do my.
I'm so sorry for having to counter some of the American
I like you,
stuff.
man. You remind me of so many people I know.
Yeah, Cindy,
don't worry. Trust me, we've got lots to discuss and lot to talk about.
Definitely.
Make sure you subscribe to my channel, because I'm still on the issue of the Rastafarian.
I know what channel.
Movement.
What's your YouTube channel?
Cindy British.
Cindy British. Yes.
I go follow you now.
I will definitely follow you.
Sister
I'm sorry I had to defend my country.
No, you know something.
I took us off for the things I had to defend my country, but then also crap on it too.
The thing is, right, fair play to you. The thing is, it's where you live, and if you can't you know, because you know about the positives about America for you, not in terms of the way the whole political, but you know about the positive things that it's done for you. And yeah, it's bad.
Did you miss my foster care podcast? It hasn't done anything positive.
The only thing that we can respond to is what we see on our news or what we see in our media. So we'll never know the true narrative. We'll never know how good it is or how bad it is. And even going there on holiday, you'll never know how good it is or how bad it is. You've got to live in America to understand.
That's the knowledge is power, and knowledge is never too much. So I'm always open to learning new things. So we can learn from each other.
Me find your sister.
Tell your son to send me your.
I go subscribe now.
I'm gonna send you an email, Cindy, and then we'll set up another show. Okay, I'll send you an email.
Another show, definitely, and then we'll do part 2 because obviously we haven't covered the background.
No, man, we didn't even touch.
National era. Didn't even touch it. I'm so sorry.
And all that sort of thing. Yes.
Yeah.
All right?
Okay.
So guys, have a good evening. I'm gonna eat some overnight rice and peas now with.
Yes.
Wait, guys, don't leave it because I do have one question.
All right. See you soon.
See you soon, Cindy.
All right. Bye-bye.
I have a question for you guys. Why do Jamaicans and islanders get to go freely to Europe? I really need to know that.
Do they?
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Like so many I read that there was like this thing where the former British colonies get to just go to be British.
Oh, right.
Like,
So
well,
they don't necessarily get citizenship now, but most certainly in the early days of independence, if you were of a former colony, then you were potentially a British subject.
A citizen.
So you could come here as a British subject. The problem that we had with Windrush, though, was a lot of people came here, sent for their kids, but then their kids didn't get passports, which meant that when it came to, well, who are you, what are you doing here, they had no proof that they were British. But yeah, it was because of the fact that we were, you know, we controlled most of the bloody brown world. So it's like, that's why India, Pakistan, you know, and that's the thing, the racists don't realize. They don't realize that the reason that these people of color are in their country is because these people were run by this country. This country ran their country.
Yeah.
And said, you know something, when you're ready, come over. So they did, but then the racists are like, oh, go back to your own country. Mate, this is my country, you know what I mean? This is my country.
So any country you see with the flag. Sorry, any country you see with a British flag on it, Hong Kong, New Zealand, Australia, all these countries with the British flag on it, they were all former Commonwealth countries and they were entitled to get a British passport.
So you say
America was a America was a British country before Commonwealth. That's why
we don't get that same treatment of going.
So for you to go to Europe, is it like a bit of a mission then?
It's I feel like it's like going to any other country that's not your country. So it'd be the same as me trying to go to Canada. It'd be the same as me trying to go to Mexico. I have to apply for a temporary visa. I could go for a vacation. I couldn't stay. I couldn't live. So I think it's because of our war for independence that we're not considered a part of the colony.
I think, because I mean, I'm sure you're aware that as an American citizen, if you come to the UK and work, and even stay, unless you have naturalization, you've got to pay tax to America.
Yeah, I know.
Which to me, no other country does that.
Yeah.
Actually, if I was to give up my British passport, I would have to pay to give up my British passport. I have to buy myself out of British ownership.
Well, as an American, wherever you are, because when I used to do life insurance, I couldn't sell to anybody who was American, and it was like, So if you lived in UK with a British husband, I couldn't sell you life insurance because you was American.
The US doesn't accept dual citizenship. So you would have to formally renounce your citizenship to the United States to become a citizen of anywhere else. And that is a gamble because if the other country doesn't say yes, then you are a person without a country.
Which is a good place to be. It's a good place to be.
Why is it?
When you're a person without a passport, you can go any country and claim asylum there. And then you can get the.
How's that good?
I've been trying to get asylum for me and my kids since 2014.
It's not a blank slate. It's a blank slate right at the bottom of the pile, mate. Why is that good?
You got a blank slate, yeah, because I mean you can go anywhere you want.
Yeah,
You could
but
choose,
that-
like, I
but
go
you-
to America if I didn't have a passport. I could say, look, I don't know where I was born. I was
but as
born in
as an
America.
asylum seeker in any country, you start at the bottom of the pile. So how can that be
But
good?
yeah, I mean, of course. But
That-
you know,
that
if you
is-
just if you're just looking to get the passport, I'm just talking
Oh,
about
yeah,
getting the
yeah.
passport. You know,
I,
that's
get it.
it.
I mean, yeah, I
I'm
mean,
gay.
yeah, it's
Don't
it's
get me wrong.
strange.
I love my country. I also hate my country. And I've been aching to get out for a very long time. Because there's just so much that I find is irredeemably and unfixably wrong. We were talking about democracy. The United States doesn't have a democracy. We have a thinly veiled oligopoly and an aristocracy.
Yeah.
That is what we have. We don't have a democracy. We might pretend like we choose, but the people who are elected are the ones who the people in power give the most money to.
Yeah.
Kamala Harris would be
yeah.
president right now if she had raised more money.
Yeah, absolutely. When I see the reports as to how many people pay, and obviously they're only paying for favors, aren't they? It's like, yeah, if I give you 20 million, when I put that bill in front of you where I can pump some toxic chemicals into the river, just make sure you say yes. And that's it. Everything can be bought. That's capitalism, I suppose. But it's, I suppose it's a shame because growing up, you see this beacon of the world, America, land of the free and the brave. And then as you get older and you realize the myth that's been perpetuated, and you're just like, wow, how can so many people fall for the same lie for so many years?
The same way that I was raised to believe that the UK is just the US, but with a funny accent. That it's the land of the free and the brave, and that everything, the red, white, and blue, and opportunity and democracy. And I'm reading all this stuff. I was always raised to believe that the UK is slightly better than the US. And then I read that they poisoned you guys with beef, like some bad beef. Like, you haven't heard about the mad cow disease?
Oh, BSE.
Oh, that was a long time ago, man.
That was years
Yeah,
ago.
but that stuff is has an incubation period of like 20, 30 years. So
thing
y'all don't
is-
know if you're gonna have zombies in 5 years.
You're right. But again, doesn't it show you the power of the media? Because on that other coin, recently, when we were developing all the vaccines, they were talking about the amount of lawsuits that American pharma companies have every year for people who die, and it's just swept under the carpet. They just pay the family off. So the reality is, it's what the media reports. It's how they feel. Flavour of the month. You'd have a much better time in the UK as a black woman, I think. I don't think you would ever feel as much that people were looking at you and thinking, oh, she's black. And I think you'd actually be like, oh, wow, people are talking to me like I'm normal.
Normal, yeah.
And don't get me wrong, Europe's racist and England can be racist.
I was told I need to go to the Netherlands.
No. My
Dutch friends were all telling me I needed to go to the Netherlands. And
it's another nice. If you get a chance to come to Europe, just come to Europe and see for yourself, because there's certain countries which are better than others. There's certain countries which are better than others if you're a person of color. What I will say is you can pretty much go around Europe as a person of color. No one's going to be in your face unless you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. You know, I mean, Wayne's a well-traveled man. You know, he drives through Europe.
He's living the dream in Germany, I'll be honest with you. That was another place I was going to live.
I ain't living no dream.
As much as he goes on about racism, the reality is, yeah, life ain't that bad for him. He's working. He's got a lovely family. He lives in a
bad for me, but
area.
I'm sad for the other people he's not good for. That's the thing with me.
But you know something, my friend? That is just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. You have to, you know, the thing is, everyone's got a different value system and attitude to how they deal with things. And you can either allow things to crush you and just not rise, or you can say, you know, sort of, I ain't letting that be the obstacle that stops me from moving forward. And that's mindset. A mindset you can develop, or mindset is taught. But you know, you can choose. You know, if you chose to, you can say, all right, it's a racist country. I'm not going to work anymore. Put no more money into this economy. No more money into the Western world. I'm going to sit on my backside and do nothing because I'm sick of being oppressed. But you choose not to, because you know you've got dreams, goals, responsibilities. Other people haven't got that strength of character. So those things that you may encounter may will crush their world. So, you know, this is just part of life, innit? It is. Really is.
I feel like that strength and character is something that so we were talking about, like, there's African diaspora, you know, there's Africa, obviously, the whole continent. European Africans, people of African descent. We have the islanders, and we have American blacks, and we have African Americans. I mean, Africans in South America and in China, apparently.
Yep.
And there's one unifying theme is that push to not give up. You're in these shithole countries and these shithole areas that don't value you and that treat you like you're lesser than. And we are a people that, despite any level of oppression, we refuse to quit.
It's like you said, we got the choice of bad and badder. That's it. It's like we live in England, or Europe or America.
And this is why, you know, this is why I have to admire and respect Wayne, because he could have taken the easy option and said, I ain't coming out of England. It's the best thing I know. I've heard that Germany's this and don't forget, right? It was only 15 years ago. This country every bloody day was talking about Germany and the war and World War II. And I grew up hating Germans, and I not because of World War II. Because the media said I should hate them and I shouldn't, you know what I mean? So when I went to his wedding,
I grew up hating Russians.
Yeah, when I went to Wayne's wedding in Germany and I stepped off the plane, I was ready to fight the first German that even looked at me sideways. Seriously, I come off like this, and they're the nicest people I've ever come across in my life. To the point that I didn't even want to come back to England. But fair play for pioneers like Wayne who have gone to other countries and says, you know something, I'm going to make my stand here. And that's the thing, like you say, we're a group of people that just keep fighting. Yeah, there's some of us who ain't got the fight, but the thing is, there's enough of us who are still carrying that fight and taking it into the enemy territory, man, and setting up shop and doing our thing.
And it is 100% in our blood. So before everyone came on, I was talking to. Why am I forgetting everyone's names?
No. Why are you doing that?
The nameless.
Alstalio,
man.
Alstalio.
I need to change up here anyway.
We were talking about queens and kings who were taken to England from Africa and refused to carry themselves in any kind of lower demeanor than as kings and queens, and ended up getting favor among the court. To where they got to at least be in the court as opposed to being slaves. Where here in the United States, we actually had kings and queens come over and they were just slaves. And that refusal to break down
protocol. But the thing is, those kings and queens from Africa would have been treated to the islanders who come from the islands. And that's the thing. And this is a problem growing up. I remember my dad being quite racist against African people because somewhere down the line, he had been taught that, they think they're better than us.
We're all taught that the other ones think that they're better. All of us.
They're black. They're as black as me. And when the thing is, as a child, when you're taught things, when you're told things, you kind of think, it's true. African people, my God, they are pioneers. You know, every African person I've known who's come to the UK, they haven't come here for benefits. They've come here to set up a business or to study. Mm-hmm. First thing they say is, right, I want to set up a business. What do I need to do? That's the first thing. The amount of African people I've got within my business network who they came here 4, 5, 6 years ago, they're driving nice cars. They've got a business. They're running a care company with staff. And I think, well, hold on a minute. How come they can come from there and just get on with doing that? But then certain other people are like, nah, man, I'm going to see what I can take and it's all for free. And this is the thing. It's all about that, innit? It's all about what's...
Actually, it's funny you should say that. You know, every African person I know is either a doctor or some big business person. I've never met someone who's from Africa. I've met Jamaicans and they're on
There's an answer to that.
Okay.
There's a simple answer for that. The same reason why in the United States, the people who were here since the 1800s and were Asian were still poor, like their families are still poor, but we have a wave of immigrants who come over and then they're doctors, they're all doctors. We have that same stigma here. And that's because they're importing rich people. I mean, there's rich, educated people are being, I mean, I'm not gonna say imported, but the people who can afford to have the lawyers and everything needed to go over and jump upon and cross over to different countries. They had money in their own country. True, I had a friend from Nigeria, and she said, "Oh my gosh, you Americans don't know anything about Africa. They tell you that we're all sitting around with flies in our face. My driver has a maid."
My driver has a maid, you know. My driver has a maid, not my driver, but my driver has a maid.
And that's no, I'm sorry. It was her maid had a driver.
Wait,
okay, so
even worse
from the beginning.
Even worse.
It's that narrative, isn't it? It's the narrative of let's find the smallest village where they're going through tough times, and we'll film that. But instead of saying it's Kubumba, we'll say it's Africa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then everyone then thinks, oh, the whole of Africa's just dusty, full of flies, and everyone's starving to death. The reality is, they have some beautiful cities, which make the cities in the Western world look like.
Those same videos could be made here in the United States right now.
I've seen pictures of America, and have you ever been to Jamaica?
I have not been outside of the US.
Right, so there's parts of Jamaica. Well, sorry, I've seen pictures of America, which reminded me of parts of Jamaica in like some of the shanty towns, where it literally is boarded up stuff, people just hanging around, nothing to do.
Detroit, Pine Ridge,
and you think, hold on a minute, hold on a second, what? You know, it's yeah.
I mean, what I always wondered is, and it is about perception. So I used to wonder, we grew up in the Cold War era. So why are we always seeing pictures of Asian babies with flies in their face and starving, and Latino babies and African babies, but you never see Eastern Europe.
Even though they were starving as well.
Yeah, I never knew that there was. I was in high school before I knew that there was a poverty issue in Eastern Europe, that there was genocide happening in Eastern Europe. And the only reason I learned that is because I met a Bosnian who was telling me about what happened to his family.
Yeah.
That's
what I was trying to allude to when Cindy was on. I was basically saying, so when you look at it, and I've never really thought about it like that. If it was a black country, I mean, all the black countries are shown as really poor and horrible and everything's bad. But as soon as it comes to white folks, it's like, yeah, but they're doing all right. But actually, white folks are doing just as bad as us, actually in most cases. But we believe, oh, no, it's just black people. So actually, everybody's struggling, and that's
I mean, the thing is, before the fall of the war, if you think about it, Russia's tentacles had spread to basically East Europe, and they dictated and controlled everything. One of the reasons that Russia fell, the USSR fell, was because of Chernobyl, because it was such a big disaster which they tried to suppress. And I mean, this thing that happened was affected UK. That cloud went around the world, you know what I mean? And it was almost the nail in the coffin of this Russian efficiency, and we're the best at everything, because it showed that you weren't. So East Europe, yeah. I mean, you only got to look at some of the pictures.
To put in perspective about how we present stuff. Look at U.S. always anti-communist, blah blah blah, right? If I were giving images of Cuba, it would be starving, poverty, everything. But Russia was always unequal, a danger, someone who could best us at any moment. They never, when I learned about the Cold War and the fall of communism, at no point were they talking about like the people who were starving. When I learned about the Russian Revolution, they didn't tell us that Stalin killed 20 million people. Stalin starved 20 million of his own people to death. Yeah. They don't present that degree of poverty, and it's almost as if they don't want us to know the level of poverty white people experiences, and it backfires on them, especially here in the US, when we present this picture of white people always being rich, always having stuff, and then the white people who are struggling don't get any attention and don't get any help and don't have anyone there.
Isn't that why the Republicans got in power though? Because
that is why Trump got in power. Yeah. He was speaking to the disenfranchised white people.
Yeah. Which, if you think about it, isn't that what we've been asking for as a community for the last 100 years? Someone to actually speak for us and get in power. And wow.
And this is what they thought Obama was going to be. Like, to Cindy's respect, a lot of Black people did elect Obama thinking that he was going to become the voice of the Black people. Obama's second cousins with George W. Bush. Just be very clear on that. He was never going to. He didn't have the option to be the voice of the Black people. He was the first Black president. He had to go in and toe the line. He couldn't do much outside of the incremental reforms that he was trying to make, because if he would have went out there and been like, say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud, it'd been a bullet to his head.
You know who could do it more though? His wife, man. If his wife would get in, I reckon she should run next time. She would be different.
No,
you don't think so?
No political dynasties. I'm an American. We're done with that. No more Clintons, no more Obamas, no more Bushes.
The reality is, none of them have really got any. That one man who stands up, or woman in the future, who stands up in front of the world and says, "Yeah, I'm POTUS," they ain't actually got any power.
They've
got the PR power, but in terms of actual power, in terms of where China, there's one man who says, "Why, we don't have to jump," and everyone says, "Okay, let's jump." America hasn't got someone who can do that.
Our president is not our king.
North Korea can do that. Kim Jong, whatever he calls himself, the guy who runs Thailand, Philippines, sorry, he can do that. Robert DeCure, whatever his name is. But America, you can't have a man in power who's actually got power. It's literally, yeah, we will control the strings. I've been watching, and I'm going to wrap up in a bit because I've been watching on BBC Two a program about Donald Trump, and it's like behind the scenes footage of his close circle. So it's showing you the meetings he went to and how the guys there, they couldn't believe his behavior. He come out with like random thing. Hey, Kim Jong, we'll give you a lift home, from when they had this meeting between North Korea and South Korea and Trump turned up. He said that and people were like, you can't say things like that. He was so off the cuff, almost kind of detached from the fact that he was a president of the world, treated like a bit of a jolly.
Okay, so George, you guys know George W. Bush, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
y'all do realize he was a puppet. Y'all do realize he was a puppet, right?
Oh, of
Which
course.
one, the dad or the son, or both?
Huh?
The dad or the son? Or
the son. Actually both. I mean, most of our presidents at the end of the day are political puppets. They're there to have talking points. But Trump didn't get that part.
No.
He did. I guess he missed the memo. And he ran as a publicity stunt without ever thinking he could actually get elected. He got elected. I'm pretty sure he was like, holy shit, I'm president now. And then he was like, I'll run with it.
Yeah. You know, it reminds me of, I don't know if you guys have seen Eddie Murphy, Delirious, where he makes a joke that Jesse Jackson wins the presidency. He went, I won? And he's like, he's on the stage doing the speech. You can't shoot me, motherfucker.
I wrote this thing right before the 2016 election saying that it was all just a troll to get Hillary Clinton in office because that was probably the only person she could beat, and she couldn't even beat him.
Yo, put that dog away.
I'm gonna go, man, because it's making noise for some reason. So,
all right,
people, pleasure.
Okay,
lovely to meet you again, Kay, and hopefully we'll catch up again soon, man. But yeah, knowledge is power, man. And like I say, I think I said to you last time about having a platform, didn't I?
Yeah, we're gonna just wrap it up anyway. So you know, we normally do. Yeah, the classic. All right. So how do we say? Thanks for joining us. It's a great show. It's gone on long, actually. This is not the script, man. This is not the script. We don't have a script. Quay, hope to see you in a couple of weeks again. You know, you're a regular now. Actually, I'm going to talk to you a bit offline, actually. I'll write to you in a minute. I want to ask you some questions.
I have to apologize again for defending the US. I know I got everything off.
No, man, it's good, man.
Hey,
country, man.
Good. We don't. None of us here on Blackopolypse proclaim to be professionals or anything. You know, we're still all learning. We all have our expertise in different areas. History is not mine, or not really. Some parts of history, yes, but a lot of it not. You know, Nigel's his expertise is a lot of stuff, but marketing is probably his main, and comedy. Quay, you're like a jack of all trades.
She's a Black history specialist, man.
Yeah, you're a specialist. So
hey, where are you in America? So what time is it over there now?
3:24.
So you're 5 hours behind. You should do it. I'd love to do an interview on my Facebook page with you, by the way.
Okay.
So
let's let Oscillo wrap his episode up. You can.
Yeah, I normally do it. Well, yeah, we'll talk anyway. We'll
talk offline. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for listening, guys. Thank you, Blackopolypse. We'll see you guys next week. Peace out.